Welcome back, everyone. Today is Saturday, November 17th. Jim, you're there?
I am, sir.
David?
I'm on, Bill.
All right. Well, today we're going to call this a Rubik's Cube world gone full retard, and thus it's showtime. Normally I turn this over to you, David, but we had questions on Jim's e-blast, and we'll start off with that. Jim, there were questions on your thoughts on the upcoming resets. So I'll turn it over to you, let you get started, and then we'll get to David's questions.
Inside, the environment we have, and these things we call markets, run by algorithms, and algorithms only knowing the up, not the downside. There's the only market timer that exists that might be right is that someone who gets a little bit of a picture or glimpse at what's intended from those people who make history. And as you guys know, and by blood, I'm related to all the bad guys, except not many of them are still alive.
You were the black sheep of the bad guys.
I am. Believe me. They've probably set Shiva for my soul or whatever they call it when some guy passes away. I was told that 1058 was the bottom. There was no magic, no technical analysis. So far, so good. And that was a long time ago. But part of it was a time frame between June of 2019 and 2025 as the period of the unraveling, and that begins in June of 2019. Guys, June of 2019 is like right around the corner, and the first reset will still carry with it a significant amount of intellectualization, not the recognition that there still are markets. Just watch what happens when people won't accept what an algorithm says, by that I mean that the first what they may think is a cleanup will have something to do with the SDRs, which we all know are nothing more than an index of a mix of currencies. They basically mean nothing. We've also seen that Morgan is working with a gold, cryptocurrency attached to gold. We've already discussed that all these cryptocurrencies are an example of the madness of the crowd because they're all nothing.
Bitcoin broke this week, by the way, Jim. I think it closed yesterday. It was 5,400, 5,500, something like that. So it had a 800.
How about the announcement by Lagarde that that the central bank should go to crypto money is in fact true, but that can't happen if there are all these little pieces that look like Bitcoin around. All right, maybe some very significant Bitcoin owners now realize that was nothing but something run up to fly and to salute and see if it stayed there. And she said as much. They are experimental. So the new currency must be something that doesn't exist today, since there's nothing that exists today which can violate your conclusion, Bill and David, that this entire mess is mathematically insoluble. So you have to get something new, just like they did in Weimar. The Rentenmark in Weimar, which turned the thing around, was a scam. The strength that the Rentenmark found came from two reasons. One, things were so bad anybody would accept anything as a change as good. And two, it supposedly had backed by the real estate owned by Germany. And, Germany may own a couple of buildings, but they don't own, they did not have title ownership of the real estate size enough to turn Weimar, but it did. So our long-time discussion, crypto is going to be part of it. It's going to be a new currency that can't be traded by you and I or anybody else except central banks. And gold will be a very, very important part of it because there's nothing out there other than gold that has the ability to say, I am a standard of value. All right? And the lack of a standard it took place in two steps. A, Nixon closing the gold window, and B, Nixon getting real lucky and opening up the petrodollar window. So the petrodollar replaced gold as a standard, and that gave the dollar its impetus to pretend to be a reserve currency of great capacity. So
that's a perfect segue, Jim, because I know one of the things David wanted to talk about was
then let
Saudi
David
Arabia.
go. Let David go because we're right at that point, and the entire statement I made, guys and listeners, is what I've been told by my family. And so far, believe me, there's no market timer. There are no gurus in here. There's only a hint of the inside to some people who have the balls to act on it.
So, David, why don't you start off with the Saudi Arabia segment?
Okay. We've gone around for a couple of weeks on this Saudi Arabia thing. First thing to keep in mind is Saudi Arabia and the dollar are tied together. I mean, we've explained that. Everybody should know that by now. It appears that we've reached, again, is this an echo of World War I? The CIA has come out and said that MBS directly ordered and was involved with the Khashoggi killing. Well, the Senate, as of yesterday, before this announcement came out, was looking to put all kinds of sanctions on Saudi Arabia. I have no love lost for Saudi Arabia or MBS, but as Bill and I were talking about earlier, you want to upset the dollar cart. That's the easiest way to do it. China will take over Saudi Arabia. They'll trade oil in yuan. And this debt bubble that we've blown will become a serious problem. Bill, go ahead with this if you want.
Well, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. The dollar has been supported since 1973, since Kissinger came up with the petrodollar concept. So if we turn around and spit on Saudi Arabia and make them start looking away from us, looking away from only accepting dollars, and actually they've already done one deal and they're in the process of doing a second deal with China where they supply China directly with oil. So if you get Saudi Arabia, they turn to China and start accepting yuan, that cuts any and all legs out from underneath the petrodollar. And like you said, David, this is at a time when there's more debt, more leverage, however you want to count it, in size, in ratio, to GDP, to whatever, however you want to measure it. This is the biggest debt bubble in the history of history. And it is a dollar debt bubble. So if you get the legs cut out from under the dollar by Saudi Arabia, you're looking at God knows what in the financial markets.
Making something new that doesn't exist today.
Right, exactly.
Nothing out there, Bill and Dave, can be fixed, okay? So and the only thing, and it's a huge thing, that made the dollar king was that every contract in the world, not only in energy, but just every major contract was written in U.S. dollars as a product of Kissinger's and Nixon's need, because they had nothing to back the dollar except the good faith that they knew as they closed that window, couldn't be sustained any other way. So they created something that never existed before.
Yeah, they created a closed system where everyone had to, by mandate, use dollars.
It is exactly every contract, whether it was written in Tanzania, Uganda, Zaire, Canada, they're all in U.S. dollars between all major manufacturers, suppliers, vendors, the whole world. So the demand for the dollar became settlement-based, both energy as well as manufacturing. There's only one way in the world that this situation can be fixed, and that is something that doesn't exist right now. We know the SDR is a total waste of time. We also know they'll try it, and we also know its ability to work is extraordinarily limited, because we may be full of a world full of morons, but nothing is more moronic than the SDR. So that suggestion we just heard by Lagarde busted Bitcoin by saying all of these things that are out here now are going to fade into regulatory hell and won't be around anymore. But there will be one around, except you and I can't buy and sell it, nor can anybody else except a central bank. So you don't have to worry about the market changing, fighting a market. And the only thing that can make that any kind of a reserve currency means that it has to be able to protect value. It has to be able to store value. And that's gold. And it is exchangeable, but not between you and me, but between central banks. So they're going to throw the dollar under the bus because they can't cure the debt problem.
And that's why all these countries are stockpiling gold.
That's exactly why they are.
Yep.
The dollar's got to get thrown under the bus, and it will. Long-term prediction I made, using all the tools that actually did work for many years and trying it in timing markets that don't anymore, but it's probably a good answer. The dollar is 56 on the USDX. They can accept that because that's been out there so long. Do you think I'm the only one who knows it? The dollar gets thrown under the bus and basically breaks in half in value of other currencies. Or other currencies double in terms of the dollar. And some simply fade away because they've got nothing behind them. And in this huge change, out comes for us that which we've chosen to own, elevated by all central banks to a standard, which it, of course, is. So they can play any games they want, currency-eyes, if you will, gold, monetize, if that makes you feel better, through a pretend currency that they control. And that ends the run on the bank. That's also part of the reason why when gold hits its high, sometime after June of the coming year, right around the corner, that I honestly believe a sharp reaction in the price of gold is totally then counterproductive. And that explains why the gang has all gotten together to keep the lid on gold so it could be accumulated by the old European Jewish families, and I mean it as a compliment, not as a smear, because I'm half, and by the boys who run the show. That explains why the manipulation of gold is on its way out and coming to an end, because if you're going to get arrested for it and put in jail for it, you're going to stop doing it. And until somebody lights a fire under your rear end so that you realize that you're sitting in a hot seat, you're going to continue to make gold by manipulating it. So we've had a lot happen this week between Lagarde, Bitcoin, the price of gold, the admission and the guilty admission to committing the crime of manipulation.
That's segue number 2.
By spoofing. And spoofing, hey, I never spoofed, man. When I went out there and offered 5,000 silvers or bought 5,000 silvers, if you look at how many people...
Hey, wait a minute, Jim. I'm calling you on this one. You never spoofed?
No.
How about sending some guy out that looked like an Arab with a...
Oh, I never knew that ever happened. Someone else did that. It was never done, and don't get me put away forever, please.
Statute of limitations, all done.
Okay. But a spoof is you don't want to take the position. You put it in a computer-based market, and then instantaneously pull it out. The old days, you had to talk to somebody. I had 47 guys on the floor, but I had to get to them, like with a telephone. And then they had to get to a thing called the ring, because the telephone didn't come in to the pit. It came in about 20 feet away from the pit. Then my guys, who all looked like fullbacks for the Dallas team, I don't think they had a brain in their head, but they were so damn big nobody could stop them, would charge into the crowd and begin doing what they were told to do. Now, how could that be a spoof? You've got to be willing to get slammed, because you can't get that out of there, because it takes as much time to get it out as it does to get it in. You follow the
absolutely.
Okay. We're in for change, guys. It's already started. I think I want my sign back, Bill and David. The end is coming. I want a sign saying it's already happened. The end is over.
Yeah.
The new is coming, and you're not going to like it.
David, why don't you bring up that article regarding the J.P. Morgan trader, the Goldman Sachs situation? That's the segue that hooks up with what Jim was just talking about.
Okay. Well, in 1 second here we go. So this week, you had the J.P. Morgan trader plead guilty, okay, to manipulating markets. He's cooperating with the government. You have Goldman Sachs, the head of Asia, has pled guilty and is cooperating with the government over the 1MDB scandal. Along with that, you have the head of Malaysia coming out and saying Goldman cheated us, for lack of a better word.
For $6 million.
Okay.
How about Greece? Who do you think made the derivatives for Greece?
Right.
Well, Goldman Sachs did.
And Italy. Don't forget Italy. They could not have entered the EU if it wasn't for Goldman with the derivatives that took some of their debt off books.
Yeah, but I'm afraid of even saying a word about our Italian friends. You know, they're coming.
Right, they're liable to come.
Sorry about that, David.
But okay, so if you take these things together, when we go back to 2008 and the banks were given all this bailout money, you have to ask yourself, this manipulation of J.P. Morgan's gold market apparently started happening in 2009. Was it officially government-sanctioned policy? And if it was officially government-sanctioned policy, who knew how far up the line this goes? And are there a boatload of sealed indictments with bankers and traders' names on? I mean, if these guys are screaming like stool pigeons, would you not expect there to be a lot of follow-on activity or arrests?
Someday, somehow, when they open them, yes.
Well, I'm going to add to that the admission of guilt by the J.P. Morgan trader. That opens up a whole can of worms for J.P. Morgan, because it opens up the process called discovery. And there was a trader that lost something like $30 million, sued J.P. Morgan, and this is like a direct correlation to his case. So it's definitely going to open up further discovery. And this week, I know for a fact there were at least 2 separate, and don't write me and ask me how to join it, because at this point I don't know. but there were a couple class action suits that are forming regarding gold manipulation.
Can I give you one quick? Class action suits only make the lawyers rich.
Right.
All class action suits settle. So they do nothing to heal the problem. And joining it is foolishness. There's only one suit that would work, and that's you hiring a smart lawyer and going against the perpetrator individually or singularly, corporately, and not settling.
Yeah, that's called piling on.
Yeah, but I get the same questions, Bill, and people don't even, they have no idea that a class action suit gets them butt kissed. But man, does it make money for the lawyers.
Go ahead, David.
Okay, so let's segue right to there. You posted this piece during the week, and I had already pulled this up to talk to you guys about. Gold remonetization is much closer than many realize. Monetary policy is largely responsible for market conditions we have today, whether we like it or not. Central planning in the capital markets will remain with us for the foreseeable future. Capital flows will be as much a function of market fundamentals as they are old policies. February 2018 marked a major turning point for gold. Monetary golds, to be more specific, when the Swiss National Pension Fund switched out of synthetic gold derivatives into physical gold. Monetary gold is defined in the new Basel III banking capital rules as physical gold held in their own vaults or in trust.
Yeah, that gold is considered risk-free. They don't have to set any reserves against the gold at all. It's considered the same thing as euros or dollars or yen or whatever else.
Or treasuries historically.
Right. Go ahead, David.
Is this the inflection point? I mean, that happened in February. We know the Swiss National Bank was a big holder of Apple stock. Apple's down, I'm not 20%. The stock guy. Okay. 20%. Are they holding? They buying more? Are they selling?
I believe in the third quarter they actually did liquidate some Apple.
Okay. Gold, actually, to be, as you get into this, gold then is the ultimate asset to hold, and the central banks know it, and everything else has all been bullshit.
Yeah, and, you're saying February was the inflection point. If readers recall, I've written a couple articles, we've posted 2 or 3 charts on this. If you look at the interest expense that's all of a sudden going ballistic in the United States. I mean, we're up to $550 billion per year and climbing, and it's going to climb because the amount of debt outstanding has risen, as are interest rates. So the interest expense all of a sudden broke out from call it a 30-year sideways channel. And the fact that interest expense is exploding in the U.S., that was like a bell ringing to other central banks to understand, like you just said, Jim, the end is not coming. The end has already happened.
Now the pieces are going to be picked up or tried to pick up by the creation of something that does not exist, which has in it two significant points. The geeks will love it, and gold.
Ready to move on?
Yeah, David, go ahead.
Okay. And again, I read William Engel's book, The Lost Hegemon, and it's just an excellent read. I recommend it for anybody who's listening to this. Pick it up. It's quick. It's short. You won't put it down. All empires come to an end. I hate to see that happen. We all would hate to see it happen, but it appears that it already has. We talked about a couple of weeks ago the fact that Afghanistan is 17 years on. It's just a complete mess. There is no winning it. Well, you now have National Defense Strategy Commission telling us that the U.S. could lose wars with Russia and China. It's all of a sudden become commonplace that we aren't the biggest bully on the block anymore. And I think that was evident in Europe last week when Europe basically gave a huge cold shoulder to Donald Trump over the World War I memorial, and whether he deserved it or not isn't the point. I'm just reading the tea leaves. It appears that the United States has basically been told it's time to shut up and sit down, stay in your chair, you're not the only one in the game. Jim, we touched on this in a conversation we had during the week. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think when it was publicly said that the three potential enemies were Russia, China, and the United States by Macron, that was a statement that was like a pulse of lightning. And it's right out of Trump's book, which I think the intellectuals wouldn't read, thinking that he's not smart enough to write. But that comes directly out of his book in Bargaining 101. So we thought we had them by whatever. But rather, what they said is, okay, you want to play that game? We're going to play it too. And they labeled us threat to them and the need for their own defense, which is one of the characteristics of a change like this, where war becomes a possibility. And we are not hypersonic, okay? We tried one, and we lost it. We actually sent, whether it was manned or not, a hypersonic fighter into low space, and we lost it. That's a fact. That can be researched. But the Soviets and the Chinese have taken a different approach to hypersonic, and they haven't lost any of it. It hasn't gone away to some place nobody knows. We're not hypersonic. We do not control the skies. You're not hypersonic. You can't win a war. Think of a cruise missile that's traveling on 5,000 or 6,000 miles an hour. We got nothing to take it down. We can't catch it. And the only thing that can catch it is a laser, and the laser is an inefficient, uncontrollable weapon. So we are not the kings of technology. And the next war could be won by a room full of people controlling things that are very drone-like, but things we don't have. Period. In the middle of that, we're going to create something new that never existed before. We're going to throw the dollar under the bus, and this new thing will stand on the platform of gold. I mean, it's the past coming true again, just in a different way. There's the argument to one-day change in the gold market.
Jim, I would add that
please do.
I was going to say I would add that we got shut down by YouTube talking about the two ships that were blinded or out technologied or whatever you want to call it. Now there was a third one. I think it's important that listeners connect the dots of, is it possible that the world now understands that we are not on the cutting edge of technology?
No,
that
they don't understand.
We're not the leader of technology, and that technology, like you just said, Jim, is going to be what tips a war one way or the other.
Not boots on the ground like it used to be, okay?
And then you make...
One time it was all boots on the ground.
Yeah, and then you make the leap of why has the dollar had the value that it's had over all these years. And I constantly have people writing me, well, the dollar has value because of the U.S. military. And my thought process is, yeah, that was true, but I don't believe that's true now. I think what you're going to see is, and you're seeing it, like what David just talked about, the World War I memorial. It's almost like a teenager that's grown up to 17, 18 years old and starts talking bad to his father.
I wouldn't have lasted a minute. How about you?
Well, my point being, at some point in time, the teenager grows up to be a man, and the father becomes an older or an old man.
Yeah, go easy with that, please.
And we're all in the same boat.
Okay.
The point being, at some point in time, the power shifts, and that's what you're seeing, is the power is shifting. And with that, because the dollar is in a completely untenable situation because of the amount of dollar debt that's outstanding, it's going to go away.
It has to go away. There's no other way. The problem has to go. It has to be written off.
Right.
That means the dollar goes away, does it not? Is not a reset the creation of something that doesn't exist today? Is it just a by chance that Ms. Lagarde comes out and talks about central banks going digital, and it looked like the Bitcoin standing strongly at its last line of defense fell straight on its ass?
Yep.
Okay, is that just by chance? No, because of what she said.
Yeah, zero possibility it's by chance.
No, and zero possibility that you're going to have all of these strange Bitcoins, people inventing them by the 50 at a time, sitting in a line for regulatory authority. The regulatory authority is the hamburger chopper to get rid of the Bitcoins that are out there until we get a new Bitcoin called the federal guaranteed holder of value. Make up a name. And gold is very much involved in that Bitcoin. And you notice that Morgan is experimenting right now with Bitcoin and gold as a single item.
Hey, maybe they should apply blockchain to our elections.
Listen, they should, because it is the ultimate accounting.
It's the ultimate accountant.
But that's all it is. It's nothing more than the ultimate accountant. It's not the creator of a crypto that has nothing in it whatsoever but scarcity, if in fact it really has scarcity.
David.
Well, again, I think we're spot on what's going on here. And you go through the list of things that are going on. I mean, there's so many of them. I can't even really begin to touch on the list that I put together because it's shocking at how fast this stuff is coming across the screen. And you have to say to yourself, there's no way the average person who has a job and a family could sit around and process this information and try to make intelligent decisions. There's no way.
Yeah, the only way you could do that is hang out in a bunker 24/7 and scour the news.
And scour the news.
Yeah, or be in the middle of nowhere standing on a mountain of gold. Okay.
Well, but even then you got a target on your butt because for two reasons.
You don't think I have had? You don't think I've been fighting the boys?
Well, there's my point. And again, it comes down to the whole thesis behind JS Mindset is you guys try to tell people the truth. I don't care whether it's left, right, up, or down. Let's just talk about the truth as much as we can. Try and enlighten people as to what's going on. Love them or hate them.
Let's finish with this as the discussion? Because I know you're going to bring up Assange.
One thing I just want to say is that even politics is noise, okay? Pure distractive noise. And that's what you've been trying to teach anybody who will listen to you, Dave.
Well, and again, we'll use this as a perfect example. When Donald Trump was on the campaign trail, no less than 5 times he praised Julian Assange as the best thing since white sliced bread. He was like shining the light, telling the truth, and I believe he is a truth teller. Unfortunately, he has spent the last 8 years in solitary confinement. I feel so sorry for this guy. It's insane. Because you think about 8 years locked in a building. I mean, that is jail. In some ways, worse. Now, apparently, there is a sealed indictment with his name on it. Well,
and David, it's important people understand not one thing ever that WikiLeaks has put out has been impeached and proven to be false.
Okay. So basically, you're putting him in jail for his First Amendment right of telling the truth. With free speech doesn't even say you have to tell the truth.
Right.
But as you said, Bill, every word out of WikiLeaks' mouth, I dare anybody to send us a link to something that proves that it's not true. The guy has been spot on. They've had him in jail, and now they're going to take him, it appears, and incarcerate him in a cell in the United States and make a mockery of free speech. And if they strip us of free speech, first off, J.S. Mindset's in trouble, but what follows the First Amendment is the Second Amendment. And
did you see the Democrat, the new Democrat representative, one of them out in California, the Twitter conversation he had?
They'll nuke us.
Yeah.
You gun toters, we'll just nuke you.
Yeah, we have nukes.
We have nukes.
Unbelievable.
But again, see, that's the mentality of our whole ruling class. When you look at this Rubik's Cube, when you cut away all the fat and you get right down to the bone, they're slipping us the bone. They've been slipping us the bone a little at a time. And as you guys keep saying, you're going to wake up one Monday morning, and not only are you going to have the bone, you're not going to have any ability to escape the velocity of the collapse of fiat money. It's like watching, to be exact, cryptocurrencies gave up $27 billion of their market cap in a day after sitting there quietly for weeks and months, because I watch it every day, not because I trade it, because I watch it for clues. And when you see gold in silence and all of a sudden it gets hammered, well, what did every cryptocurrency kid in the world get up and all of a sudden say, I'm dumping today? Somebody's controlling that market. Jim, would you agree?
Well, absolutely, because Lagarde was given the permission to say cryptocurrency equals reset, and that's what she said this week. But cryptocurrencies that are out there don't fit into that equation.
They're dead ducks.
They're dead as doornails. All of them.
They're going to zero, as we said over a year ago.
All common sense, David. I know it gets in the way of raving bull markets, but let me add, there's not an intercontinental ballistic missile that's hypersonic. What's the only thing that can stop a launch even on a doomsday basis? A cruise-type missile with a good guidance system, which operates independently of after it's been shot. That's artificial intelligence, which is multiple times faster than any ICBM. That means we launch against anybody with a huge arsenal of hypersonic items with good guidance systems, and our atomic doomsday turns into a damn awful piece of pollution on the earth, but it doesn't get rid of anybody. We're not going to win it. The next war is going to be fought in the room of about 10 guys. Okay, with all kinds of buttons and holographic computers. It is Star Wars, and we're not there.
Hey, Jim, getting back to the Assange situation, what's disturbing there is here's a guy who's been jailed and who knows, will be convicted in the United States for telling the truth. And David, you said, JS Mindset and other websites are going to become targets. What's going to happen is we're going to live in a world where truth is punished, but worse, truth is not attainable. You won't be able to dig on the internet and get the truth.
Well, call me in India or Tanzania or someplace like that and tell me what happened. Because I got homes in both.
Well, and again, what makes this scary, and to put the tinfoil hat on or away, depending on how you want to look at it, the CIA, when they released this information about, oh, yeah, we know MBS was involved in this, he had to actually order it, they said they intercepted phone calls. And they had to go back and dig the phone calls up out of the archives, which would lead you to believe then that they are collecting and archiving every single conversation on the planet. And they say,
we already knew that. That's a fact.
For them to come out and confirm that, and again, you could read the article yourself, and again, did they intercept the call between Khashoggi when he was in the United States, when apparently MBS's assistant, or his brother, whichever you want to call him, had notified Khashoggi that, oh, yeah, you show up at the Turkey consulate and everything will be cool and, we'll give you your paperwork and you can get divorced. And, by the way, we have a bandsaw waiting for you. I mean, this isn't tinfoil hat stuff. They are tapping literally every single phone conversation. I can't imagine. That's just me, but monitors on this damn site. You guys are toast. I'm crawling back into my hole for another week. And hopefully,
I got my own holes, and I got my gold under my feet. Okay, I'll be as public as you are, unless the rule of law really takes hold after and part of this reset. I'm finished. Okay, you think if the rule of law is going every way, Bill owns JS Mindset. Do well, Bill. Give me a call in India or probably Tanzania.
Bill who? I don't. I talked to some guy. I didn't know his real name was Bill.
Yeah, I mean, it truly is scary. We're not going to be become a target for telling the truth.
Well, we're doing what we're doing on a basis of our own definition of morality and honor. But if the whole thing goes to hell, are you going to sit around to get the horse shut out from under you? No, you're not.
No.
Already one of us is a ghost. David, even if that name has anything to do with who we're talking to. And he is a ghost, David, that man.
Well, that's a whole other conversation. Do you bend to it, or do you go down telling the truth? And
listen, we're not going to be able. You and I run out there with all the artillery we have against guys who've trained.
No, the point is, Jim, you're going to go down. As far as I'm concerned, I'm going to go down telling the truth.
I'll tell the truth,
and the ramifications be damned.
I won't tell it from here.
Name, rank, and serial number, sir.
your papers, please.
I know that if there's anything many lives, you sat at the round table, King Arthur. But we're up against things we've never been up against before. We have militarized police who are dying to use this stuff. Okay? We have defined correctly to the nth degree what we're facing. Nobody can be a market timer when there are no markets to time. Simply Nintendo games in cyberspace. And the most important point is that an ICBM, in terms of speed, is like riding a bicycle compared to a form of a cruise missile, which is sonic. You can take it out. I mean, we have a change of situations that is enormous. Along with a reset to work and to rebuild a society, there would have to be a terrific move back towards the rule of law. Lacking that, I think that having an alternative way of living and having set up for many years a way of affording to do that is the most important thing in the world. Not having that, learn how to take care of yourself, because you're going to have to. And that's the plan. That's what's going to happen. What we have said today could be the most important hour and change that any listener ever had, and beats any blog anybody can write. Okay, this exchange is worth more than in my opinion, a $20,000 blog, $20,000 subscription. $20,000, not $20.
Well, on that somber note, you guys want to call it a day? I'll get this posted.
All right, guys, that's great. Right. Hope for the best, plan for the worst.
That's exactly. Love everybody, trust nobody. Especially this guy we can't find called Dave.
Oh, and we do want to wish everyone a happy and blessed Thanksgiving. I'll be writing one article this week, probably Monday or Tuesday, and Thursday through the weekend I'm going to be spending time with family, so I won't be getting a second article out for the week. But we will be doing our Saturday call next week.
Great. I look forward to it. I'd like to say I'd be with family. I probably will be, but the inventory is not that large.
Well, that being said, what I try to do usually by Sunday is post a bunch of stories related to what we talked about. And rather than get into writing big, long descriptions, because, again, you don't care about my personal opinion. I just want you to know where this information's coming from. Why don't I just post it for Saturday show notes? And then I could list several articles that encompass my thoughts on, why we're going over what we're going. Does that make sense to you guys?
Yeah, good, and include all the links with it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. Include the links, because I'm not making this stuff up. None of us are.
We know
it sounds like it. It's so crazy it sounds like it, but it's not. I mean,
it's not.
You're the jackpot, man.
So,
you're talking about because nobody can find you.
Well, hopefully we all have a happy Thanksgiving and make it till next Saturday, and we do this again, guys.
All right, have a good weekend, guys.
I look forward to it. I can't a gathering of friends to talk about the truth. I'll see you next Saturday.
All right. We'll do it again.